Hi, my name's Simeon Chien, and in this video I'm going to talk about the signal flow between microphone to an analog mixing console over to a power amplifier and into a loudspeaker. Never place the condenser microphone too close to the transient device, because you'll get harsh sounds if you place it too close. These are omnidirectional. So that means that they're able to capture sounds in all directions. Nextly, we've got a dynamic microphone. This is a Shure SM58 vocal mic. The purpose of the dynamic mic has a coil of wire inside the diaphragm for a high magnetic field. So what that means is that when a sound wave hits the diaphragm on the microphone, the attached coil can be displaced to the proportion of the amplitude and the frequency of the sound waves. So what that means is that dynamic microphones take longer to respond to sound frequencies. These are cardioid, so instead of capturing sound either side of it, it'll be captured on the front of it. The first section on an analog mixing console is a pre-amplifier, and the job of that is to control and boost the microphone and line level signals so that they can be effectively processed, recorded and played back. The controls and parameters on the preamp section require the input levels, gain, phantom power, and the light emitted diode LED for clip indicators. They have high pass filters and line level passive attenuation devices. Moving on now, I'm going to talk about the inserts Now, an example I can tell you is a compressor. Now, a compressor reduces the sound levels of louder sounds so that the overall average level of the audio signal flow will be slightly higher. Nextly, relevant to this are noise gates, but they're the same as compressors, but this time they're useful for reducing unwanted sounds entering into a microphone when they're not being used. Next, we're going to move on to the bottom of the console, which are your channel strips. Now, your channel strips are a group of controls that make up each individual channel to allow audio signals to be routed when you're recording. So you've got your panning for stereo recording to allow channels to be recorded in each individual speaker. You've got your solo allowing you to isolate tracks to let you hear the one channel. Your mute button to mute the one channel to allow everything else to be played back except that one. Your track groups will allow you to create subgroups of your multi-tracks, and you've got your volume faders for your overall volume, and your volume meter will indicate how much volume you've got on your channel. The white section on the analog mixing console, as you can see, are your equalizers or EQs. Now, these will modify the frequency response between your audio signal flow. So, an example will be that you'll have your graphic equalizers as a plugin, which will indicate your 1/3 octave faders, and they can boost, and you can boost or cut any frequencies on it that will employ sufficient capability for system equalization. And you've also got your parametric equalizers that have been popular since the 1970s in the recording studios, and they can either be boosted or cutted within individual sections. Next, we're going to talk about auxiliary sends, which are situated over here, right on the middle of the console in this bit here. Now, auxiliary sends are useful for relevant to headphones. So what they do is that they bus audio signals from channel paths into an auxiliary bus. So things like delays or reverbs are normally employed on the recordings of instruments like vocals or acoustic guitars and tambourines. Now you've got your pre and post fader sections. Now, your pre-fader lets your audio signals be sent to the auxiliary channel when the channel fader is not employed. so that you can check for any feedback, etc. The post fader have your reverb and audio sends to correspond to your channel faders when being used at higher volume levels of the microphone signals. On the other hand, next we've got the outboard effects, which are your digital effects, which are situated over here on this section here where you can see your LEDs. Now, your digital effects include your delay and reverbs. Delays are often used for sound reinforcement, and what they do is that they make any sounds from vocals or any instrument repeat for a few seconds before fading away. Next we'll talk about reverbs. Now, they normally require mono and stereo inputs and stereo outputs, and they deliver multi-channel outputs for post-sound production. Now, I'm going to show you the back of the console. I'll just show you here. So, like, for instance, you'll get your buses going from here. These are your microphone. These are the microphone inputs. And normally, what the buses do is that each channel on an analog mixing console sends signals to your, for example, your auxiliary channels. It's like for example, like I mentioned in the auxiliary channel, the uses audio signals to be sent directly to the auxiliary channel in the sound engineer's headphones, so they're heard from in there. Normally, it works through the channel fader to allow the controls on the master mix bus, and it allows the main output of the analog mixing console to be routed to other sources of external devices, like your loudspeakers and your recorders. If we go on to talk about the power amplifiers, the input gain of the power amplifier is normally employed in a way that would allow the successful amount of voltage to pass through the electric current. Nowadays you can get power amplifiers that will prevent any internal failures like feedback or any improper use. What they have is that they've got female XLR inputs and outputs at the back of them, and they normally consist of a 5-way binding post which require dual banana plugs or space lug plugs. Most stereo amplifiers have a 4-conductor speak-on output for connecting these amplifiers into the loudspeakers, which I'm now going to talk about. Now, normally loudspeaker processing will require cable paths from power amplifier over to loudspeaker. Normally that runs under alternating current power, and what that means is that it will allow access for maintenance between the operator location and on the stage within the loudspeaker locations. Now, going on to talking about where the cabling is situated, it's normally seen up and down the centre between the audio engineer and the stage. Now, low-level cabling runs along the opposite side of the alternating current of the power amplifier rack, whereas all the cabling is neatly tidied, so it's easier for any health and safety issues to be analysed for any risk assessments on a live stage. Now, you've got 2 different types of metering. You've got either average or peak. Now, most commonly for average metering, the volume unit, which you've got VU for short, is the most commonly used. Now, these sound meters were passive reading and listening devices on analog mixing consoles in studios. And lastly, we're going to talk about the room acoustics. Well, recording studios normally have smaller or bigger spaces, so therefore certain acoustic treatments like panel absorbers or Helmholtz resonators can be employed, but concert halls are normally very large, and they produce a lot of reverb due to the enclosed spaces within long path lengths and multiple seating positions near and far from sound surfaces that may cause reflections. And that's all for now, and thank you for listening, and bye for now.